Start this over. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever live edition of the Attacking the Paint podcast. I'm your host, James Ivy Williams, founder and CEO of Between the Line of Sports. And yeah, I wanted to try this out, so let's do it, right? So this is, today is October 23rd, 2023. Welcome to October 23rd, 2023, and we are one day away from the start of the 2023-2024 NBA basketball season and the official start to basketball for the new year. And so, with that, I just wanted to kind of jump on and talk a little bit about just what I'm excited about, what I'm looking forward to in the new season. As we at Between the Line Sports obviously are kind of gearing up for a exciting new season. We're ready to go. So tomorrow's got, 2 games on slate on TNT. I can't tell you who they are. I just know I'll be sitting in front of my TV watching. But, kind of wanted to jump in. I have my notes over here, so I'll kind of jump right in. So I get asked a lot of questions about just kind of how I run the business, what I do. And for me, as we're getting ready for the season, the one thing that I've tried to get better at every year is my preparation. Last week I tasked my staff to create their schedules. I think every NBA team, requires their scouts and their guys that do evaluations to create schedules for the season. And we wanted to kind of do the same thing. So I gave them a task. We have about 250 guys on our board right now, just as far as draft prospects go. And so for that, I assigned everyone their own players. Everyone has their list, and then everyone kind of goes in and sets their schedule. For me, I'm the backup to everybody's backup. So I need to see every last person that is on the list at least one time, so I kind of feel for them, have some sort of baseline to go off of. So when we attack our mock draft and things like that, I have some sort of understanding of who these players are, what they do well, what they don't do well. And so with that being said, it took me about a week. It took me about a full week to really identify my entire schedule. So guys that I can see in person, guys that I can watch on film. Luckily for us, there's a lot of people are going to be that typically wouldn't come down to the Southeast where we are. We'll be down here. So I'll have an opportunity to see a lot of really good prospects this year. And so that, like I said, it took me about a week to lay out my entire schedule. And again, a lot of this stuff can be also tentative because things change. Some guys will move off the board, some guys will move onto the board. So you have to adjust for that kind of stuff. Also factored in high school events that I'll be attending as well. And those things are always kind of last minute because a lot of times these people who organize these events don't necessarily know if teams are going to be coming or not, right? And so because of that, it allows us to really, have to be a little bit flexible and have to have the ability to pivot. So with that, I prepared. I did a good job of preparing, obviously putting a list together first of the draft prospects, doing our research, doing our due diligence on guys who will be returning to school, guys that are entering the college ranks, guys that are playing overseas, things like that. And so trying to factor in all those things and really putting together a list of at least the top 250 or so players and prospects that we feel have a chance to be NBA players. Obviously, 60 players get drafted, 59 this year, which I still don't like. And then, guys that are going to be signed as free agents, summer league and things like that. And so because of that, the list is put together. And so for me, the importance, I try to implore my guys and encourage my guys to really understand the importance of being prepared. I really believe that the best people are prepared and try their best to attack things ahead of time. So to be proactive as opposed to reactive. I think I spent a lot of my early years in the business being reactive, not really understanding or not really knowing, still being a young entrepreneur, knowing basketball, but not knowing the ins and outs of everything, to be honest. And so learning how to do things a little bit better and a lot better. And so because of that, I feel like I've gotten better every year. I've made my schedule every year. This schedule this year is probably the most intense that I've done. And again, there's still some things that need to be added and some things that probably need to be taken away. Wanted to kind of give you guys a little note, side nugget, or whatever you want to call it. I read this book. Wow. Probably, first of all, I'm an avid reader. I probably read about 10 books a year. I actually just finished Lucky Me by Rich Paul. Great read. If you haven't read it, go check it out. But the book I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about is this book called Dare to Prepare by Ronald Shapiro. Ronald Shapiro created this company called the Shapiro Negotiating Group. Ronald Shapiro was a very popular and well-known sports agent for a long period of time. Most notably, this is not his only famous client, but if you're a baseball fan, Cal Ripken Jr. was one of his clients. But he has this, he established this negotiation company that helped companies and teams and everyone else kind of negotiate. And he was always known to be a really great negotiator. But one of the things that the book kind of talked about is that how every time he would go in for a pitch, he would prepare, and he would lay out, he would have someone be the recipient of the information. He would allow them to poke holes and attack his pitch, so that when he was ready to go, he had crossed every path, crossed every T, dotted every I, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that he was as prepared as possible for his presentation and for his pitch. And so with this, I try to do the same thing with what we do. I try to really make sure that I am comfortable with, even with this, I have my notes over here. I'm prepared. Before, when I first started my podcast, there were no notes. I was just talking. I may have known what I wanted to talk about, but I was just talking a lot of times. And so now, being a little bit more prepared, obviously having notes and being able to kind of go off of a script almost definitely helps. Obviously, you don't want to read things verbatim, but you want to have talking points so that you know when to move on and when to proceed, because that helps you in the long run. And so because of that, I really encourage you guys to read this book. I've read it probably 3 or 4 times already. I gave you guys a little nugget of it, but Dare to Prepare by Ron Shapiro, really great read. It's helped me as I continue to kind of grow in this space, and it's something that I would encourage you guys to read. With that, again, I was talking about schedule, right? Schedule is important. Coming to Atlanta, coming to the Southeast, we've got just several teams to I think USC and Kentucky are both playing in Atlanta this December. Indiana's also coming down to Atlanta. USC's coming to Alabama, and they're playing it. Actually, USC's playing both Auburn and Alabama State, which is the HBCU, which is, I think this is the first time in a long time a Power 5 has visited an HBCU on their court. So that's going to be interesting to see, and I'm really excited about that. So I'll probably attend those games as well. Just along with a lot of other teams that will be coming down to the Southeast. For me, I'll obviously make some trips out of the Southeast, obviously for obvious reasons, just to make sure I see enough of our guys that are on the board. I kind of go from there. One of the things I'm looking forward to, kind of moving forward for my list, one of the things I'm looking forward to is just the start of the season overall. Obviously, I'm a basketball fan first, and so just wanted to see good basketball. The cool thing, people always ask me, who's my favorite team? I'm not a favorite team kind of guy. I root for players. I kind of think I've always been that way. More so root for players than for teams. So if I like a player, if he's on one team or another team, I'm going to root for him the same. So my favorite player is Steph Curry, if you guys didn't know. Been that way for a long time, well before he was the MVP, well before he was an all-star. I go back a long way. And so because of that, I always kind of root for Steph Curry. That's just my personal opinion. Now, if I'm working for an NBA team and whoever I'm working for, that's what I'm rooting for. But no skin in the game right now because we are BTL and we don't really care as of late, but as of now. But yeah, so the first thing is just looking forward to the start of the season. We're overall watching some really good basketball, and then from there, looking for players to kind of like take the next step, right? Guys that have been in the league already, looking for them to take the next step. Anthony Edwards is a guy that I've kind of followed for quite a while. You guys, if you follow me, you know that I've been following him for a very long time, since he was in 10th grade. So looking forward to watching, and he was an all-star last year. Looking forward to see him take the next step. Chet Holmgren's another kid, obviously he was injured last year. So looking forward to see Chet be healthy first, and then see what he can do with his unique skill and size. Obviously, last but not least is Victor, not last but not least, but Victor Wembanyama, San Antonio Spurs. We are seeing this guy who's just a unique prospect, to say the least. 7'5", dribble, pass, shoot, rebound, defend, block shots. I mean, you name it, he can do a little bit of everything. He's a unique basketball player. I know some of you guys have probably already seen some of the highlights from preseason. him blocking, blocking jump shots, from, while giving people, while not giving people, giving NBA players, NBA All-Stars room and still blocking their jump shots from the perimeter. Something crazy. He nutmegged somebody in transition a few days ago. So just watching the skill set that he has and his ability to kind of create, exciting plays. And then last but not least for me is probably Scoot Henderson. Just looking forward to watch Scoot play. Also, just knowing him since he was in high school, ninth grade. I was there when Scoot got his first, D1 scholarship offer. I was there. I was in the gym at a fall league game where the University of Florida offered him. So that kind of stuff. So really, excited to see these guys play, see these guys emerge. Both guys who have been in the league already, and then some of the rookies. And then the same thing for college. I don't know what cycle this is for me now, where I've seen guys go from high school to college and then transition to the NBA. But there's several guys, that are entering the college ranks and the professional ranks, playing overseas, going to Europe and Australia to play basketball to get prepared for the NBA draft. And so looking forward to watching a lot of these guys play. Isaiah Collier, Canaan Carlisle going to Stanford. Isaiah's going to USC. Trenton Flowers is playing in Australia. AJ Johnson's playing in Australia. There's so many names. Oh wow! Now I'm drawing a blank. Of course, let me see. I got this list pulled up. Let me check it out really quick because I have the ESPN rankings up. Who else am I looking forward to see? Ron Holland, G League Ignite. Jacoby Walters is at Baylor. Jared McCain is at Duke. All these guys I've seen from very young ages, high school ages. 9th, 10th grade a lot of the time. Stephon Castle at UConn. Elliot Cadeau at North Carolina, Kwame Evans at Oregon, Rob Dillingham at Kentucky. You guys saw Rob Dillingham drop 40 the other night in the blue-white game at Kentucky. Man, it's so many guys that I've seen for such a long time. Watch these guys go. Cohen Carr. I remember Cohen Carr no one knew Cohen Carr. Cohen Carr was playing in rural Georgia, and then moved up to play with the Georgia Stars, and before you know it, now he finished high school as the number 25 player in the country, going to Michigan State. So these are just guys that I'm very excited to see kind of move on into the next steps in their careers. And then these guys are going to be guys that will obviously be going to a lot of these guys will be entering the NBA draft next year and will be prospects playing for NBA teams. And it just kind of recycles and starts all over again. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm sorry, the one person who's watching my live stream, it was just 2, it's 1 now. I appreciate you watching. I'm not sure who you are, but drop a note in the chat if you'd like. I would really appreciate it. But just excited to have anybody watch it. Really, like I said, this is my first time doing this, trying this out for the first live podcast, Attacking the Paint podcast. Just figured I would try it out. But yeah, so just kind of watching those guys kind of like enter into the college ranks and get prepared for what they're going to be doing. I'm really excited about that. And then, it's just the new team, right? So the guys that are with me, a lot of these guys are going to start getting out and scouting events. We've already had guys we've covered every Pangos, freshman, sophomore event this fall already. Somebody was just down covering the junior college jamboree down in Orlando this past weekend. What else? I'll be going to Tampa Bay this weekend to go cover the future All-American camp hosted by Bay Area Hoops and my guy Reggie Burke down in Tampa Bay. Really good event. This will be my second time in a row going. And so really excited about, the opportunity to kind of get out. And honestly, I also attended the first, or the opening weekend of OTE again. Got to see the Booster Twins play this past Saturday. Again, another kid that's really talented. Watched him. I remember the first time I saw him, he was in 8th grade. Caden and Cameron. So watching them play, it's honestly, it's really amazing to really see the evolution of all these kids play. Also, check out new gear, a little new gear. New BTL to ATL line that we created last year. Check it out at BTLhoopstore.com, BTLhoopstore.com. I'll probably put it right here sometime when I post this the second time. But yeah, BTL Hoop Store, the mug and the crew neck sweatshirt. are available along with a lot of other cool gear. You guys can check it all out on btlhoopstore.com. Kind of pushing forward, I wanted to talk a little bit just about, prospects, both high school and college. A lot of players are, asking me questions like, what could I do to kind of help myself, be seen, be noticed, be recognized. Everyone's not the same. The thing that I want to kind of encourage a lot of players to do is simply just play hard. I think that's the first thing that you can do. Is the thing that you can control the most when playing basketball is the ability just to play hard. So play hard. Also don't try to play outside of yourself. A lot of times, I think a lot of players are trying to prove what they can do. Right? You want to prove that you can play. You want to prove that you can do this. You prove you can do that. When in actuality, just do the things that you are really good at. Control those things. Play within yourself. I've said this before. A lot of times, people talk about having a high basketball IQ or a high basketball feel. And the truth is this: while some guys can play with a cerebral mindset and really can, be 2 or 3 steps ahead, sometimes having a really high basketball IQ or really high basketball feel is simply playing within yourself, not stepping outside of, not doing things that are not in your comfort zone, and being elite in those fields for that reason, because nothing else really can quantify and magnify your skill set other than the things that you do really well. I always say, let guys give you a scholarship and or pay you to be better, to improve on certain skills. While you're working on things right now, always try to improve, but at the same time, do things that you do well. So if you are a great defender, be a great defender. If you're a great creator, playmaker, be a great playmaker and creator. If you're a great shooter, be a great shooter. If you're a great finisher, be a great finisher. Whatever the case, whatever your skill set is, do that really well. Work on the things that you have room to grow. But don't try to use the season to start working on stuff. Obviously, do that stuff in the off season. If that stuff is in your bag and in your memory bank or in your muscle memory, by all means, pull it out. But in the meantime, just do the things that you do well and work and play hard. That's my thing. I was told the last podcast that people really enjoyed the story time that I gave you guys last year about an unnamed NBA executive who tried to tear me down a little bit. So I want to give you guys another story. So obviously in my journey of pursuing basketball as my career, you meet people, you talk to people, a lot of times you're really just trying to get in front of people to try to showcase your skill set, your basketball acumen, and your talents. A lot of times it's simply you just want to be seen. You want to be seen. You want somebody to recognize your skills and your talents, and you want to be valued for those skills and talents. And so this story in particular is not necessarily funny, but it was an interesting story because I obviously came away from this event with a couple of more people that I consider to be in my circle. So it all started at Summer League. I don't even know what year this was. Summer League was in July. And I met a G League GM. Met a G League GM, and just kind of like obviously just being encouraged to meet somebody, have the opportunity to speak to somebody. We stayed in touch, and obviously after Summer League, people take breaks and they kind of die down. But this is when they used to have the G League. They used to have a G League camp open. It was like a G League open tryout in Chicago. They would have. They don't do it anymore, I don't think, but they used to have this G League open tryout in Chicago. But a lot of teams would come out, a lot of teams would come out and evaluate talent. I think it was definitely more, while it was an open trial, I think they were inviting certain players to participate. So it wouldn't just be random players there. So it would be more guys that actually have some sort of cachet or some sort of name behind them, or maybe they came from a certain school, or they had an agent or something that could push them to get into the camp. But whatever the case may be, it was a pretty big deal because pretty much every team was sending representation to Chicago to cover this event. And so I was talking to this G League GM, and and we were talking, and he was like, "Yeah, maybe you should try to come up. We can sit down and talk." In my head, I took that as, okay, I got to get to Chicago. So it's August now. I think the camp's August, and it's actually the weekend of my birthday. I probably could go back and find the date if I really want to, because my birthday was on a Friday, on that Friday. And at this time I was substitute teaching on top of running BTL. So I was substitute teaching, and it was like the first week of school. And so I had I had agreed to do like a 1 week sub at the school. And I agreed to it, not knowing that this camp was taking place and or the meeting. And that's the thing. The guy says it's on Thursday. No, it says it's on Wednesday. You should come up and maybe we can sit down and talk and you get up to Chicago. Obviously, I'm not making money to where I could just hop on a plane. So I decided I come home. I tell my wife, and we decide, which again, I didn't think this was going to happen, but I was kind of telling her that I was going to try to get to Chicago. She's like, well, let's just drive. And we made it, we made it work. We rented a car. But the thing is this, I was still working. I had agreed to, the week-long substitute gig already. And I didn't want to call out the last day, right? And, because a lot of times when you call out, they may not call you back for another sub. So I didn't want to risk, burning a bridge with the school. So I went to the school still. I still went to the school and did that last day of the sub, which did definitely throw a monkey wrench in the plan for getting to Chicago. But we picked up the car, we get on the road, and we drive literally through the night to Chicago. I think we get to Chicago around 3 a.m. We drive, obviously, and then we're leaving Atlanta on a Friday midday, so it's traffic getting out of the city, and every city you're driving into, you're kind of going into some of their traffic. And I think we even have to end up, I think at one point we ended up pulling over to take a nap when we I think we were maybe in Kentucky, and we were just exhausted. And so we ended up pulling over to take about an hour nap just to kind of, make sure that we were fresh for the rest of the drive. But we get to Chicago. Luckily, I was born in Chicago. I'm from Atlanta though, but I was born in Chicago. But I have family there. I have uncles and aunts, cousins. My entire family, both sides, my mother and my father's side, both still have siblings and relatives in Chicago. So it's one of my favorite cities to go to because I always have someone there for that I can go to if I need. So I call my uncle, hey, can we stay with you guys? It'll be a quick trip. Literally, we get there Friday. We'll be back out. We'll be out Sunday. He said, sure. We get to their house around 3 a.m. Chicago time, which is 4 Atlanta time. And we're exhausted because I think we left around 4 p.m. Atlanta time. So literally a 12-hour ride, about 12 hours in the car getting to Chicago. So this is the thing. So you're going to most of these NBA events, not mostly, all these NBA sanctioned events are credentialed. I didn't have a credential. All I had was the conversation with the guy who told me, let's meet up and at the camp. And again, people say, and again, this is something that you'll learn. A lot of times NBA people, they don't mean it. They don't mean things that not in a bad way, but they're not thinking about the person who's not affiliated with the team or affiliated with a large media conglomerate, because most of those people can get into events. So they say these things and they don't really think about that. Oh, I actually can't get in because I don't have a credential. So I thought about this when I woke up and I started thinking about people that I knew. I called a few people that I knew. And one guy was actually at the camp. He said he tried to get me in, but obviously the people who were running the camp said it was too late, short notice. They couldn't get me in. And again, the downside is this: a lot of times there's plenty of room. It's just they try to keep things as exclusive as possible, which I understand. By the way, we are NBA media certified now. Thank the Lord. We got that done last season, so we're NBA media certified now. So pretty much any NBA event that the NBA puts on, we have access to now, which is great. You just have to apply, but we're on the list now to be approved, which is great. But anyways, at this time, obviously, we're not there. We're still a young company, and excuse me. So my buddy tries to get me in, couldn't get in. And so I'm like, screw it. I drove all the way up here. I'm getting into this camp. I just decided I'm going to get into this camp. So I get dropped off by my uncle. He had to go to work that morning anyway. So he drops me off at the gym. And it's oh gosh, what's Michael Jordan's trainer's name? I can't think of his name right there. It's his old gym. It's the old attack gym. But I get there and obviously there's someone right at the door. They're checking names, and obviously I'm not being let in, right? And I'm like, hey, I'm supposed to meet such and such. They told me to meet him here, and they're like, well, you're not on the list. We can let you in. And again, it wasn't even like there was a lot of room. I had never been to this gym before. I've since been to this gym several times because they had the Basketball Without Borders event there a couple of years ago when they had the All-Star game in Chicago. So I've been to the gym since then, and now I know that there's not a lot of what's the lobby space. It's pretty much a door and then another door, and you're in the gym. So it's not a lot of space at all. Think of like a small corridor, pretty much, and that's where the tables were. So I couldn't even really wait around because there was no room to wait around. So I'm kind of freaking out at the moment because my wife drove all the way up here. I feel kind of silly, to be honest. I feel a little silly that I thought that this was going to be an official meeting. I thought it was going to be an official meeting, and the guy's now, he's not answering the phone. And I obviously can't convince these people to let me in. So I don't know any. I really don't know anybody, and everybody that I do know that are there are in the gym working. So I can't really get anybody. I can't get access to anybody. A buddy of mine comes out. We start talking a little bit, and he goes in. He was like, "I'll see if I can go find the guy." And again, I don't like saying names because the names aren't really important in this sense because I don't want anybody to like. I'm not trying to throw anybody on the bus. Again, it was more of a miscommunication from me, which I have an overzealous personality, and it's probably one of the things that kind of has helped me get to where I am because I kind of push where I need to push. And so, anyways, long story short, my buddy who was working inside spoke to the lady who was organizing the event, and she was like, "Wow, so he can't come in." So, like, but we are having a mixer or a meet and greet at the hotel later tonight. We'll put him on the list for that, which I was so thankful for, by the way. And I don't know who she was, but it was a lifesaver for me to get that access at least. But a buddy of mine who's an agent, was in town, so he came and picked me up. He called. I guess it was just random. It's one of those things like when people see you. People see you in multiple cities, they understand how hard you work. And he actually sent me a meme that said, I'll put that, if I can, somebody edit this video, I'll put that meme that he sent me into this video. But a buddy of mine, after I got that, I was told I got the access to the event right after I got that call, or got that text rather. My buddy who's an agent called me. He's like, "Hey, where are you at?" I was like, "I'm in Chicago." He's like, "I'm in Chicago." He was like, "Where are you?" I was like, "I'm at the gym." I was like, "But I can't get in." He was like, "Stay right there. I'm gonna pull up on you." And so he literally like pulls up, and it wasn't like a long time. It may have been 5 or 7 minutes. He must have been right around the corner. So he picks me up. We go get food, and then we get food. Then my uncle comes and picks me up from the restaurant, and we go back to his house, take a nap. I still don't tell anybody what happened, that I couldn't get to the event because I'm kind of embarrassed. Not even kind of. I'm embarrassed. I couldn't get to the event, and me and my wife literally just drove 12 hours overnight for me not to meet the guy that I was supposed to meet. And so I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm kind of tired, feeling a little silly. And I want to take a nap because I'm just exhausted. But like I said, it's my birthday weekend also. It's my birthday weekend. And the crazy thing is my uncle, whose house we're staying in, we're born on the same day. So it's his birthday weekend also. So he decides that we're going to go to dinner. We go to dinner or early dinner. Really, I had to be back at the hotel for the meet and greet of the mixer at like 7 o'clock. So Uncle takes us around town. I've been to Chicago too many times to count. Like I said, it's my hometown where I was born. So I've been to Chicago too many times to count. But I go. We kind of go around. We go see the city a little bit. It's my wife's first time in Chicago, so she had never been before. And so, she's showing us around. She's really liking the city and everything, which is kind of cool. But then I'm like, I gotta go. You guys gotta drop me off. Mind you, still working on minimal sleep. I might have taken like a 30-minute power nap before we had to go out and kind of went out and about in the city. But get dropped off to the event, and I try to get to places on time. But I think I might have mentioned this to you guys before. I'm kind of shy by nature. So I get to the event and I don't see anybody that I know yet, right? So I'm just kind of like there, and I'm meeting people a little bit here and there, but I really don't know anybody to have a conversation with. So I'm kind of like in this party or this mixer by myself, just not speaking to anybody. I'm drinking some water or some soda or something. And then, eventually people that I know start rolling in, and the event opens up a little bit, which is great. And this is where the preparation, this kind of actually comes full circle to the preparation part that I talked about at the beginning of this podcast. I actually end up in a conversation with a couple of NBA executives and scouts, and we're talking about what are we talking about? We're talking about the best players that were the best defenders that were in the draft, that previous draft. And a player that kind of came to mind, not a player that came to mind, was a kid named Melvin Frazier. Went to Tulane. I may have talked about Melvin on the podcast before as well. But Melvin was actually the first guy. Wow, that's how long ago this was. Wow. This is like 5 years ago, because Melvin was the first college game I ever scouted for BTL was Melvin Frazier in Tulane playing against Georgia State here in Atlanta. And that was the first time I'd ever scouted a college game for the company. And we were talking about who was the best defender in the draft. And there's the kid who went to West Virginia. I think he played for the Memphis Grizzlies for a while. I'm not sure he's playing for now. You guys know the stocky little point guard, bald head. I can't think of his name right now. Again, I'll edit it in this video who that is, but I can't think of his name right now. And we're sitting here talking about who was the best defender in the draft. And my preparation of really knowing both the players very well allowed me to stand out in a group of people that were deemed higher up than me, right? And so we're talking, and I don't know how it happened, but I just go into this rant, not even a rant, but it's this tangent about Melvin and why he was an elite defender. And I'm demonstrating stuff. I'm showing how he gets over screens. Like I'm talking about how he gets skinny, how he his wingspan so long, then how he playmakes for his teammates. I'm just going in on why Melvin is this really, really good NBA caliber defender. And one of the executives turns and he looks at me and he's like, "What's your name?" And I was like, "James Williams." And he's like, "Who do you work for?" And I was like, "Nobody. I work for myself." He's like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Meeting you." Just like it's just one of those things. It was just one of those weird kind of conversations. I'm like, meeting you. Like I'm here to meet. I'm here to meet people. And my buddy, the agent, was like, you see him in the background. He's like just smiling because I think he sees me in my moment. And I don't always have these moments where I just feel like I feel the most confident in myself sometimes. And so I'm having this moment, and he's just grinning. And it's like it's obviously, and that grin is giving me more excitement, more encouragement, more fuel almost. And the guy was like, "Take my number down. Like we need to talk." It was weird. It was one of those things that like it was just exciting, right? And he was a G League GM, and so another G League GM. And so that moment kind of stood out to me because I was prepared with information, and it just was off the top of my head but I had watched so many games and had evaluated so many players that I really felt I had a good grasp on who was the best defender in the draft. And that stood out to this one executive in particular. And then going full circle, the executive that I was supposed to meet, I met the head coach for his team. I didn't know who he was. And I kind of told him what was going on. He's like, "Oh, really? Oh, such and such is right over here." And so maybe 5 minutes later, the guy comes over and he's like, "James, I'm so sorry. I did not realize you were here, that you were waiting on me. I really apologize. That's my fault." He apologized profusely. I'm sure I'm saying that word wrong too, but he was so sorry about what happened. And I was like, "Bro, like it's fine." Like honestly, that moment that I had with that group of guys made that trip worthwhile. And it was honestly like sometimes you got to put yourself out by making that leap or that drive rather. Obviously being prepared in the moment to just have information ready to go. It's one of the things I kind of pride myself on now, because now I'm kind of in the circles a little bit more, and I get asked questions a lot about prospects. And I always make sure that I have something in mind, because again, as I've drawn a blank on this call on this podcast several times, sometimes you can draw a blank when you may know so much that when the time comes and someone's asking you something, that you may just forget what you're talking about. You may forget what to say. You may forget, how to do it. And so and then for me, I know I have those brain farts, as they say, and so or brain fogs. And so I try to do my best to really did I just freeze? Oh, we're still live. I don't know what's going on with the camera though. But anyways, do my best to really be prepared for whatever may come, because you just never know. And so because of that, I had the opportunity to get in front of some really high executives. I exchanged numbers. That one executive who asked me for my number, we're still cool to this day. He's one of the guys I consider to be in my circle as well. Got to see him this past summer at Summer League. What is going on with this camera? Sorry, this is one of the downsides to doing things live. But anyways, yeah, so all that being said, just I was prepared for what came my way. I didn't allow a setback to interfere, and I feel like I overcame it. And I hope that was a good story. I'm sorry about the screen. I'm not sure what's going on, but overall, my preparation was beneficial to the success of the trip, and it did freeze. What's going on? But anyways, I will keep going because I think we're still live, whether you can see, whether the camera's going or not. I want you guys to hear what I'm saying. Preparation is everything. Make sure you're prepared at every time you step out of your house, and every time you're speaking to someone, have talking points, have things prepared to say. While it may not be scripted, having talking points are definitely going to be beneficial to the success of whatever you're doing. I really believe that wholeheartedly. I'm going to end this now because I have been frozen for entirely too long. So thank you for watching our first ever edition of the Attacking the Paint podcast live stream on YouTube. And I'm recording numbers so I can be okay. This is episode 3 of season 4 of Attacking the Paint. I haven't done this on the past 2 episodes, but I want to say this: call this show Attacking the Paint because I was taught as a kid to break down the defense. We break down the defense and we kick it out or find an overshooter. So for this, we break down information about preparation. Guys, I'm looking forward to a little story time, and then we kick it out to you guys. So until next time, we'll talk to you guys soon. Peace. Oh, also follow us on all social media platforms, BTL Hoops, Instagram, Twitter. We have a TikTok, I think it's called BTL2 right now. BTL_2, something like that. Follow us on all those social media platforms with BTL Hoops. And we will talk to you guys soon. Peace.